All right, you're in for a treat. We've done 2 quick tips. This is our second quick tip of today. And with all these announcements coming out of Microsoft Fabric Conference, we've been teeing up a lot of good content here for you to hear directly from the PMs who are building these amazing features. This quick tip I am extremely excited about. I talk about this all the time on the podcast, and I really want to introduce to you Emily. Welcome to this quick tip today. Emily is our PM from Microsoft. She's a principal PM on the Power BI team doing my most favorite feature, which is web modeling. We are building semantic models inside PowerBI.com on the web. And you're in for a treat today because this web modeling is happening on a Mac. So we're not even using the PC for this demo. Emily's going to jump in here and give us some good details. Emily, welcome to the show. Tell us about what our demo is going to look like today.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And what an honor to be able to present what you just said was your favorite feature. That's amazing.
Favorite, by far.
Yeah. Yeah, so today I am joining from a Mac. Everything I'm going to share is going to be done on a Mac. And what I'm really excited to show you all is that we are now GA for editing semantic models in the web, including creating new import semantic models from scratch, never having to open Power BI Desktop.
I love it. This is awesome. All right, with that, let's just jump right over to your desktop and we'll get you demoing like what's going on here. So let's transition the screen here for a little bit and we'll skip you right into, okay, we're on the Mac. I can see the menu bar at the bottom. We definitely are there. Let's see how this runs.
Yeah, and so as you notice so I'm in my Mac, as you see with all these different Mac icons, and I'm in the web and I'm on the create page for Power BI, and there's these 2 new buttons here. There's the Get Data button, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with in Power BI Desktop, where it's really what launches the Power Query editing experience to bring in additional data. And there's this OneLake Catalog button, which is a really great place to discover all of your different data within the OneLake. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a net new semantic model using import as the storage mode. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick the Get Data button to launch that Power Query experience. And so what you see is this is probably pretty familiar with what you're used to in other Power Query experiences, including things like desktop. But all I had to do is click that Get Data button, and I'm able to see all of these different sources. There's over 100 connectors, actually, that you could pick between to bring in data for your semantic models. And
awesome.
So I'm at least, yeah. So I'm at least a big
Let's start with Excel. 100%. Let's start with Excel.
I think yeah, one of the most known and loved sources is definitely Excel. So I'm just going to go ahead and show a quick example using Excel. So you can either upload or browse from OneDrive. So I use OneDrive for a lot of things. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick my Excel file from that. And then you could choose to configure all sorts of different credentials that you want for connecting to this source. One thing that's really helpful is it helps you get started for new sources, setting up those connections for you. But then after you pick your source, what you do is you just kind of go through that typical flow that you might be familiar with in desktop, where you bring in the data, you pick all the tables, you can do your transformations, and then that'll bring you into modeling.
Look at this. I love it. This is Power Query. It's named appropriately here. It's not like Get Data. It's actually called Power Query. I love the fact that you're naming it the right thing here. This is wonderful.
Yeah. And then all you have to do is pick the tables you want added, and you can either then go in and do transform data, or if I selected transform data, that would bring in the Power Query editor experience where you can kind of fine tune all of your queries, do that really rich like data prep, ETL type operations. Or you could just skip it and choose to either create a report, which will land you in the report editing experience in the web with the semantic model kind of created under the hood for you. Or if you want to fine tune your semantic model before you create a report, you can choose to create a semantic model only.
One gotcha that I've seen, especially when I've done this, it's the little caret next to the create report. The button is a 2-part button there. So Emily was clicking on that little tiny caret on the right-hand side, which is awesome. You just got to know that it exists, and you can then pick from a menu when you click on the little caret, or the expand button, I guess is what you would call it over there on the right side.
Yeah, so you could either do the caret option if you want to pick just to do the model, or if you wound up picking the report and you're like, wait, I want to do more modeling changes before fine tuning my report, we have lots of entry points for you to go from the report editing experience to the model editing experience. So it's not a one-way street. Even if you don't do the carrot, if you wanted to start with modeling, you could get back to the model.
Another thing I'll just kind of note here too, this is a brand new experience. Like being able to create models without an attached report is kind of different for Power BI desktop users. Because in a desktop world, you're always by default, when you're creating things, unless you're going to the service to edit models, because now you can edit models from service inside desktop. The experience has always been you get a default report page and the semantic model kind of like combined now. This is a new paradigm shift. This is just thinking about designing the data structure just as the semantic model differently than building out the report layers as well. Is that kind of like what you're feeling here too, Emily? Is like this is like kind of a new way, a paradigm shift in development?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just want to give as much flexibility as possible to users. So it is a bit different where desktop, you always have both a model and report that are attached together in a PBIX. With this kind of paradigm, you can just create a model without yet having the report attached to it. But then afterwards, you can create one or really infinitely many reports attached to the same model. So our goal is really just to give as much flexibility in creating the artifacts that you want.
Correct. Makes sense. Awesome. Looks like we've got one started here. You've already made some, it's already pre-built some relationships for us as well, it looks like.
Yeah, so it went ahead and my semantic model is now created, which is awesome. And as you noticed, it already auto-detected all the relationships for me from this Excel file, which I could also just take a look at how they're defined both in the manage relationships dialog here, where you can kind of see like a nice visual view where you can sort between different properties to look at all the relationships. You can also further edit them by like right-clicking a relationship and selecting properties. And also in the Model Explorer, that's a great place to see all the different relationships and edit them in the properties pane. So we give you lots of different options to edit relationships and create new relationships based on just really what your preferred way of interacting with it is.
Love it. And also notice here too, as you're selecting the relationships, this is a nice part I think that's really rich around the new model pane that you see here is as you're selecting them, you're seeing them be highlighted in bold on the left side of the screen. So when you selected the first one, notice how I was highlighting it there and kind of like really emphasizing like as you're selecting them, which tables is that interacting with, which I think is super useful here as you're kind of zipping through the relationships and seeing graphically what's being represented by what it's connecting to. Super nice feature. Good polishing on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's kind of our goal is to make it really clear what you're editing, both in more of the diagram view, where you kind of see the visual representation, as well as in the data and properties pane.
Wonderful.
Awesome. So yeah, a lot of those really core modeling capabilities that people are familiar with in desktop, we really lifted and brought them all to the web as well. So things like editing DAX, you can write new measures, new columns, new tables, new calc groups, like all of that is supported. And I guess for DAX fans, we actually have easy toggling to the DAX query view experience, which I don't know how much you tested this. I love DAX query view.
100%. Honestly, I like this more when I'm building DAX now. I prefer this experience over writing DAX inside. Like, there's when you're in the report or you're building, you've got a little tiny menu bar that's kind of hard to work with, and if you're writing variables or lots of things, it's not as intuitive. And I also see here you've got this nice little highlighted Copilot button at the upper right-hand corner as well in here. So it looks like you can also use Copilot here to help you write some DAX additionally, which is kind of fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I think DAX query view is great for just kind of having that full screen experience to edit your DAX code. And exactly like you were saying, DAX query view Copilot does a fantastic job at both helping you get started with writing DAX queries to do just analysis on your model, explaining DAX topics, or even one of my favorite things is suggesting measures.
Suggest some measures. I love it.
It's so easy. Like you just click one button, it'll suggest all sorts of measures for you for your model. And I think it's really cool that it's easy to toggle between the model view and DAX query view. So you really can, like, if you want to use the DAX formula bar in the model view, you can use that, or you could toggle over here. You can really pick and fine tune using the interface you prefer for whatever action you're doing at hand.
We've done a couple of videos with Zoe because Zoe's kind of, I think, the one kind of in charge of like the DAX query view experience a little bit. And when you're creating measures here, there is a specific syntax you use to define a measure. And then when you define it, you can then push it right into the model directly. So again, it's not only just testing and writing measures here directly, you can also test them, create them, and then push them right back into the semantic model as you're building things here. And what I love is sometimes I don't really know exactly what the results of the measures or tables will come out from the DAX query view. So the results pane down at the bottom here is incredibly important for me. So when you're evaluating the new table or producing calculations, I'm much more metered around this is something I would use a lot of DAX Studio in the previous world or life that I would use. Now it's all built into the product and kind of just exists here, which makes a lot more sense now. Oh, geez, look at how much it wrote. It wrote 88 lines of code. Sweet. Look at it go.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's so much faster, I feel like, than if I were to try to write all of these.
Yeah.
And it just took like one click to say suggest measures and then another one to keep the query. And then, yeah, you can see the results of anything that you've run and choose to apply them to your model.
This is slick.
So
very, very neat.
Pretty cool.
Good experience here. Yeah. I love this.
Yeah, huge shout out to Zoe for that one. I'm a huge fan of DAX Query View. But after you make all of your different DAX changes, do your analysis, run the different like measures that you want to define, you also can just head back to the model. You could also edit them using the typical DAX formula bar that many of you are used to with IntelliSense. So you can really define whatever you want here, which I'll just show what IntelliSense.
I love this formula bar, but man, even just the other experience, I mean, look at how much more how much more area you get to write DAX in DAX Query View. Again, I can't recommend highly enough how much to use DAX Query View to build things, because it just gives you so much better of a user experience, I think, around having more landscape and be able to write better code.
I completely agree. Yeah, so it's great. Yeah, I think that is the best place to really fine tune your DAX. We also have the formula bar here. And we have all those other rich modeling capabilities in the model view from desktop we've brought to the web. One of the ones we brought in more recently, so you saw from the create page that we created a net new semantic model, bringing in data using Power Query. You also can re-enter that experience. So you could have either selected get data to bring in additional sources to the same model, or you also can select transform data to do that kind of rich power.
Oops. We may have lost a little bit of the audio here. If Zoe comes back. Oh, hang on. The Mac is having an issue.
Data view or step view. We also have the diagram view where you can see all of the different steps in a visual format for all the different changes that were made.
So just to be clear, Emily, it dropped out there just for a second. It may have just quickly dropped your connection a little bit there. Can you just go back?
Place to make more edits as well. You can bring in more data for import tables using the Get Data button, as well as bring in direct link on OneLake tables using OneLake Catalog. So that was something else really exciting that we announced in FabCon Europe, was that we not only is web modeling GA, but in preview, we now support having composite model experiences where you can have in the same semantic model tables that are import source, as well as tables that are direct link on OneLake source.
Awesome. Good. You blipped out there for just a second, but I just want to kind of point across the OneLake items.
For web modeling is you can use this experience to define different security roles. So your role level security, object level security roles, and then even assign them to individuals or security groups within your organization.
Awesome. Again, full modeling. Everything in the model you can do here.
One of the last things that we have that I think is exciting to call out is these one-click entry points, which this was also announced as GA at FabCon Europe, is we have these one-click notebook entry points where if you select either Best Practice Analyzer, this will help you get ready creating a new notebook connected to your semantic model with semantic link, and run Best Practice Analyzer to help analyze, like, is your model following best practices? As well as there's this memory analyzer, which similarly will create the Fabric notebook connected to your semantic model, semantic link, and run what we call memory analyzer to help get a sense of the different storage and memory configurations of your model. So I could quickly show kind of what I mean by that with Best Practice Analyzer. So just clicking, it's a really simple experience to get started with notebooks, since I know a lot of Power BI users are interested in notebooks, but haven't necessarily dove in yet with it. So all you had to do was click to click the best practice analyzer button from the semantic model. And with that, everything was created for you in the notebook with all this helpful information about best practice analyzer and everything configured to get started with connecting to the semantic model and then importing all the needed libraries. So then all you have to do is a second click. So it's really a 2-click experience. 1 click to have the notebook created for you with everything configured. And then the second click to actually run the notebook. And that is all you need to do to have all this set up for you to get that best practice analyzer analysis ready to then bring back some of your findings to your semantic model.
I believe Michael Kowalski was kind of the one that was really working a lot on this with
And
the
so
team
here,
here.
I have all sorts of interesting tips. I can see things I could do to help improve formatting or maintenance or performance of my semantic model. And I could really dive into all of these and then choose whether or not I want to update my semantic model to follow these best practices. And I can easily just get back to my semantic model by toggling back to it and then going into editing mode. And I can choose to make all sorts of changes based on what I found with Semantic Link.
Excellent. I'm not sure, Emily, is the audio working back from me to you? You may not be hearing me on the other side of things.
And then, so I think that was a lot of just the core functionality. There's a lot of details about all of the different best practices you could follow and all of the different things you could do in web modeling. But really our goal is all of that core editing experience from desktop model view can also now be done in the web, and it is in a generally available experience. Another thing I do want to highlight is we do have version history with semantic models. So all the changes that you make within web modeling are automatically saved, and multiple users can make changes to the same model. And so because of this, we want to make sure that there's a recovery mechanism, right? You don't want to have your model in a bad state where all downstream reports are broken. And so to cover for this, we have something called version history, where, as you see here, it's an Office-like version history experience where you can see past versions that you can choose to restore to get your model back to a previous state, potentially allowing you to recover from the most critical of issues. And so that's how you see version history. We have lots of documentation explaining like how it's all configured. And when different versions are captured, we have a few different moments that would trigger a version capture, but you also can choose to manually save a version to version history, especially if, say, after you looked at all the best practices, you decided that you wanted to fine tune your model based on those best practices and then save this as a moment in time. You could say like, my model meets best practices. And then save that version as a moment with that description for if something were to ever happen to the model in the future, you can look back in version history, see that description, and choose to restore to that point.
Awesome. With that being said,
Great.
any other features?
So I think modeling isn't complete without also creating reports afterwards. So what you can do is after your model is in a good state, you can choose to create a new report based off of the model. And kind of like what we were talking about earlier, you can, like I created this model, there was no report initially attached. You can keep it in that state. You can create one new report. You can really create as many different reports off of the same model as possible. And that's really just us trying to give as much flexibility as we can to all of you to configure the exact setup that you want for your business scenarios. And so there, just in one click, I was able to create a new report. And then I'm in this report editing experience where I can do all of the typical clicky, draggy, droppy experiences to create my reports, as well as I can even use Copilot to help me create new report pages.
All right, excellent.
And one thing nice about this being in the web is that you can easily toggle between different tabs. So I could have my report editing open in one tab, especially for multi-monitor users. This is something I do all the time, is I'll have my report editing up on one of my monitors and then model editing up in the other. And it's a really nice way to see both the report and the model at the same time as I'm making changes to kind of my end-to-end flow.
Awesome. Love this. This is amazing how well this is working together.
Great. So I think that was a high level overview. Mike, do you have any questions about any of this?
I don't. I just want to double check here. I'm sending you a message on Teams. Maybe they can get you to check the audio here. So I'm going back to the main screen here. I don't think we have any questions. This is great. The demo is incredible here. You've gotten so many good things like described and explained here. Many of the experiences that we'd like through desktop are just now available inside the web, which is also incredible. We really like this. This is what I think, from a perspective of my development, how do I build things? I build things in one browser window is like the data engineering side. I have some notebooks. I maybe have some lakehouses and warehouses. And now I have another screen, another window open for the semantic model. And I have another window open for the report. One of the complaints I have around desktop is I have to continually switch between different experiences to get all the modeling and engineering and Power Query, and everything has to be like a separate window in desktop. Now you can seamlessly just attach yourself to all these different experiences directly through different browser windows. So I'm physically changing how I build reports. I like using the web a lot more for building reports and now semantic models because the tooling has gotten so rich and it adds a lot more out of the box features directly through the web. So I love this. This is an amazing demo, very quick run through of all the new features. And we're now officially GA, right? This is fully GA. You can go use it. It's supported fully by Microsoft. That's exciting. Anything else?
I think those are the biggest things. Yeah, the biggest announcements is we're GA for web modeling. So please go and use it, especially you Mac users out there. You saw that there's an end-to-end experience where I created a new report, semantic model, all completely from scratch in the web. So I'm really excited to see what all you all create all within the web.
All the links that you need to learn more about web modeling, those are in the description of this video. If you have any comments, things you would need, features, one thing I'm very interested to see. So we've got web modeling, we've have the relationships, the diagram view. We can go to DAX query view. There's one thing that I have in desktop that I don't yet have in the service. So I'm really interested. Maybe we'll do something in the future here, but Timdal doesn't seem like it's on the web yet. So that's one of the last experiences maybe existing in desktop that's not quite there yet. Can you speak to anything around where does Timdal sit in all of this? Is there a Timdal editor coming? What does that look like from your perspective? That's kind of one of the last pieces I see in desktop that's not currently in the web. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I love Timdal View. I think it's a fantastic experience, but you are right.
Same.
It is only desktop right now, but
Yes.
I'd say stay tuned because it is very much in our minds and in our
Okay. Love it.
longer term plans to bring it to the web because we do have that goal of having that functional parity between all those authoring experiences and desktop to the web.
Love it.
So it is top of mind for us too. Please stay tuned. Rui is a great person to talk to about all things Timdal, all things
Yes.
pro developer experiences.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking forward, and when we get you to go to modeling in the web, we'll have to do like a version 2 of this when other features or other new cool things appear and start showing up in modeling the web. Emily, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're very busy. You're doing a great job with the team. Thank you for listening to the community and building really rich features on top of this. I think you're really dialing this in correctly, and I love this experience. If you're not using modeling for web, you should definitely check it out. It's fully GA. It's definitely worth your time and support right now. And again, no holds barred. As long as you have internet and a browser, you can now build whatever you need to inside PowerBI.com. I think this is the future. So very excited about this one. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to the community for helping give feedback along the way as we brought this to GA, and for everyone, for all the community contributions that led up to especially the notebooks experiences. A lot of that couldn't have been done with the larger Power BI community. So huge thank you to you all. I'm so excited to see everything that the community continues to develop using Power BI, using Fabric notebooks, and all of these rich web experiences.
Love it. See you all next time. Appreciate it.